Gojo Satoru, the man who was given it all. Gojo from the point of his birth was shown to be a gifted individual, being the first and the only person to acknowledge Toji, though he was standing right behind him. Gojo has been shown to be a man who has been gifted by the heavens, describing himself as the honored one, which is a quote famous to the Buddha and someone who also stands at the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery, Sukuna. Gojo is the first person in over 100 years to be a wielder of both the Six Eyes and the Limitless Curse Technique. And from our knowledge in the series, he has the most knowledge on the current generation and the past generation. Gojo has been shown recollecting events from over 410 years or more years ago, recounting events from the first usage of Mahoraga. Throughout the show, he's been shown to be the perfect balance of both strength and knowledge. In the Hidden Inventory arc, which is basically a summary of Gojo's past, Gojo is shown to be aloof when facing challenges which could hypothetically affect the fate of not only Jujutsu sorcery as a whole, but also the human race. He dismisses Geto's worry by saying, "Don't worry, we're the strongest." The usage of words like "we're" and "we" will become very important in Gojo's character, as Geto is someone who Gojo can rely on and fight alongside without getting held back. Someone he can truly relate to and who can relate to him. After his awakening against Toji Fushiguro, he strays further and further away from Geto and begins to take missions alone. After the death of Habira, one of Nanami's dearest friends, he asks why Gojo can't just do everything all by himself, and Geto, who was once Gojo's best friend, doesn't even move to defend him. A narrative point I wanted to touch on was the fact that when Gojo fully masters Infinity, Gojo's ability to keep all enemies away from him, and also his allies, he's only then stated to be the strongest. This implies that the source of Gojo's immense strength is because of his loneliness and his inability to be separated from his strength. When asked their opinions on Gojo, most of his students and those who know him seem to have different opinions on him personality-wise. However, they are all able to come to the consensus that he is the strongest sorcerer, a moniker that would never leave him from the time of his birth till his sealing. With Gojo's writing out of the way, we can dive into his strength, which all of JJK can identify him by. Gojo is shown to be a master in terms of martial arts, training Megumi and teaching him how to properly use curse tools, which allows him to use even special grade curse tools like Playful Cloud without becoming a hindrance in battle. While his skill in martial arts and his weapons is vast, it isn't the only reason he's called the strongest. In his fight with Jogo, we see he's able to casually cause massive physical harm to Jogo with only the use of basic palm strikes. He's also shown to be fast enough to be able to beat down on Jogo and go all the way to Jujutsu High to retrieve Yuji and make a full trip back before Jogo has time to retreat. Most people, including people in his own verse, believe he has an extreme reliance on Infinity. However, this is shown blatantly to not be the case in his fight with the disaster curses Hanami, Jogo, and Mahito, along with the aid of Choso. Jogo, who in character is shown to be an arrogant character, thinks of it as an impossible task to keep Gojo in the radius of the Prism Realm for a short period of time. When they attempt to use domain application to attempt to nullify Gojo's Infinity, Gojo flat out turns off Infinity in the midst of battle with multiple long-range opponents and characters with techniques who can kill in one shot. And he is still able to perception blitz both Hanami and Jogo before either can notice he's gone. With his raw physical stats, he is able to damage people like Hanami, who is durable enough to tank multiple attacks to his weak point from people like Yuji and Todo, both who are monsters in terms of physical strength. His manipulation of cursed energy is so precise, he is able to activate and deactivate his domain in the time period of 0.2 seconds, while killing every single transfigured human there in the time period. Segueing onto his domain, people like Jogo thinks it that everyone who attempted to fight Gojo, including people like Mahito and Hanami, would still be unable to beat him in terms of a domain battle. The conditions of a domain battle, as stated by the man Gojo himself, is to be a battle of who has the more polished domain. Factors like cursed energy output and compatibility are also a factor. However, they seem to be less important due to the way the panel is formatted, and the fact that they are shown to be smaller text, which is not included in things like the anime. And finally, we can move on to the plethora of statements and hacks that Gojo has at his disposal, which are a major factor along with his physicals as to why he is described as the strongest. Meme states that if Gojo wanted to, he could kill every single human in the country. This is consistent as she sees people like Kenjaku appear before her, yet she still is able to make this statement in good confidence. Someone like Kenjaku is the strongest throughout all of the Shibuya arc, excluding Gojo and Sukuna of course. And for her to be able to make this statement confidently, it just implies Gojo has a far gap between the two of them. Gege states it directly that Gojo is able to do whatever he tries to. However, the reason he doesn't is because he's trying to nurture the newer generation into a set of people who may potentially surpass him in terms of strength. This, along with all the narrative implications about his strength, just allows us to reach the conclusion that Gojo is the strongest in the manga at the time and for the far future. Now, onto his hacks. Gojo is a wielder of all three types of limitless, some of which many people, even in the distant past, do not know of. Red is the ability of curse technique reversal of the limitless technique, which is basically Gojo reversing the effects of the strengthening technique and brings the divergence of infinity into reality. While Gojo has a bit of trouble using it when he first tries to, his awakening and his ascendance into the strongest allows him to use this technique, as well as the fact of his plethora of knowledge on positive cursed energy and reverse curse technique. Red also is so strong it has twice the output of blue, which makes it a real threat in combat. Blue is the curse technique lapse of the limitless curse technique, which increases his cursed energy output and it creates the power to attract. This is achieved by amplifying the limitless and bringing the conceptual impossibility of negative distance into reality. This forces the surrounding space to try and fill in the gap by pulling violently towards the source of the aforementioned impossibility, creating a magnetic-like effect. Gojo uses this technique as early as hidden inventory and is something that almost every limitless user can do. And finally, purple. Purple is the fusion of both red and blue, a secret ability known only to a select few in the Gojo family. It represents motion and reversal, a fusion of convergence and divergence that collides both infinities to generate an imaginary mass. This effect takes the target out of reality, instantly erasing everything the technique hits, without exception. He uses this in both the Goodwill arc and his fight with Toji, and this is his strongest limitless technique that we know of. Gojo is able to use infinity and his domain expansion multiple times a day, something that characters like even Dagon and Jogo are not able to do. He's able to reduce his cursed energy wastage by usage of his 6 eyes to basically a bare minimum and basically nothing. This allows him to fight for extended periods of time without getting fatigued. Gojo is just someone who is described to be far above the rest of his series, as even 15 Finger Sukuna sets Gojo as this type of height and this type of bar that everyone below him strives to reach. When Gojo was born, he directly makes sorcerers around him stronger, and he just gives a rejuvenated vibe that allows the people around him to want to get stronger. They describe it as a record that has basically never been broken, has finally been broken by someone, which just motivates the rest of the people running to become stronger because of it. Gojo, I believe he's one of the loneliest characters within all of JJK. He's unable to be separated from the moniker of the strongest, and he just is a target. He and his loved ones are all targets for the attacks of cursed users and disaster curses. Whenever Kenjaku is trying to make his plans, he describes as Gojo as too strong for his plans to go on, implying that Gojo is like a key component as to something that can stop Kenjaku's plans. Even as much of a manipulator as Kenjaku is, he seems to be unable to find a way to manipulate Gojo and to get around Gojo's strength. For these reasons, I think that Gojo should be the strongest in the whole series, stronger than people like 20 Finger Sukuna, as this is what the narrative is clearly trying to push forward. We see that direct statements from Gege Akutami that Gojo is the strongest in the manga. If this isn't enough information for all of you to like notice the fact that Gojo is just that guy, I don't think that any form of logic will reach you. But yeah, that's basically it. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a nice day. Bye.